Great. So let me introduce myself. My name is Amit Anthony Alex. I am one of the co-founders of Path Builder. I'll talk about Path Builder and what Path Builder does shortly. But I want to, before that, just set expectations in terms of what this webinar is about. This webinar is specifically focused on helping your job search, helping you apply to the right roles, and till the point of trying to get you an interview. That's the entire content of this webinar is focused around that. As I said earlier, if you have any questions, please type it in the chat window. The content of the webinar is aimed at young people who are interested in building a career in the social impact space. And you will remain muted for the entire duration of the webinar just to avoid ambient noise more than anything else. Correct. I want to start with just talking about what is Path Builder. So Path Builder is a not-for-profit organization that looks to empower young people to take action towards their purpose. This comes from the founders' sort of experience in the social impact space. We've seen there is a lot of young people who want to create an impact, but clearly don't have the right path, direction, or guidance. We want to solve that using Path Builder, where we provide a platform of relevant and useful information that can help move young people to take actions toward their purpose. It could be setting up their social enterprise, it could be working for an NGO, it could be working for a social enterprise, or it could be even joining a corporate. But at the same time, how can you as a young person create an impact while having a career? That's what the focus of Path Builder is. How we plan to do that is through a series of different activities. This webinar is part of information resources, so we want to be putting out a lot of content out there for people who want to get more information about a sector, information about how to go about your job search. We will be starting networking opportunities. We want to do specific one-on-one career counseling. We will be doing sort of self-reflection, leadership, and industry connect workshops, hopefully by July. Then we, from there, build local chapters so that this becomes an organization of idealists spread across India, thereby building sort of that peer network as well. And all of this combining to help young people have a purpose-filled career. That's what Path Builder does. We're still at an early stage. We are piloting a lot of these initiatives right now. I want to just quickly talk about sort of the information resources. These webinars are sort of 60-minute online events where we get in depth on conversations about the social impact sector, about career in the social impact sector. We also do podcasts, which is shorter conversations, maybe 20-25 minutes, where we bring in an industry expert or a practitioner and they provide very practical feedback, insights on roles within a specific sector. Most of you might know about our weekly job digest, where we send out opportunities that are in the social impact space, looking for candidates with 0 to 3 years of work experience. We plan to bring out blogs and articles soon, and additional sharing of news and other resources as we build the various activities of Path Builder. So the agenda for today's conversation, we spent about 20-25 minutes on just helping you think through your strategy as you think about your job search. Then we'll talk about sort of process, tips and tricks to help you get to that interview. That's what we are aiming for here, that if you follow some of these practical advice that I'm going to provide, I believe that you will increase your probability of getting an interview. I come from a place where I've been recruiting candidates, so I know from a recruiter side what are challenges. So I sort of positioned this webinar showcasing that. But I've also been a candidate. I've changed jobs multiple times, so I have gone and looked out for opportunities. So I come from a candidate angle as well, and the idea of this webinar is to give you very practical, step-by-step approach that you can use. You might be already doing a lot of this. If you are, my advice is try and do it better. That's how you can improve end of the day. We will also leave maybe 10-15 minutes towards the end so that we can take some Q&A. We've got some really good questions in the registration form as well, so I'll start off with that. And at any time during the webinar, if you have questions, just type it in the chat window and we can pick it up at the end. Great. So let's jump into the content right away. Starting with, I want to spend 2 minutes just talking about what is a social impact sector, right? We're talking about job search in the social impact sector, but what is the social impact sector? And we at PathBuilder use the term to define the entire universe. It could be social enterprises, it could be development organization, it could be DFIs, CSR organization, funding organizations, NGOs, all of these organizations that have a focus in solving a global or a community need or a social issue. That's how we define the social impact sector. The social impact sector has various stakeholders. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to our earlier webinar where we specifically talk about what the social impact sector is, who are the different players, and what are sort of, early or fresher roles in each of these sectors. I would suggest going on our YouTube link and checking that out. It's quite an in-depth conversation. We also talk about salary ranges because that was one of the feedbacks that we had received from participants who had registered for that webinar. So it gives you a detailed insight on what the social impact sector is, what do early stage or early career opportunities in each of these sectors look like, and what are average salary scales. And also we talk about what are skills required. The reason I'm bringing this out and talking more about detail is to really be focused and take a strategic approach for your job search. It's important to know some of this information. And a lot of this information is available in public. It's just about you going and looking for it. So what is the first step when you think about taking a more strategic or focused approach with your job search? I would say it's self-reflection, setting your objectives, right? If you are able to do this, you are already on your way to finding your dream job. It starts with spending some time really reflecting what are you passionate about, right? You want to work in the social impact sector, that means you want to create a difference. But what are you passionate about? You could be passionate about wildlife. You could be passionate about circular economy or waste. You could be passionate about LGBT rights. You could be passionate about impact investing. You could be passionate about working for the UN, taking on global issues. You could be passionate about world peace, right? Spend some time, try and identify keywords that you feel that you link to your passion, right? For example, I am passionate about social entrepreneurship. That gets me going. And I can talk about social entrepreneurship non-stop. That's what my passion area is, and you will see that if you look at my career, that's where I build my expertise, right? This will help you, right? In the long run, you want to be working in a sector that you're passionate about. That's how you are going to have a career that is fulfilling, and end of the day, you get rewarded for as well. The second question that you need to reflect upon is, what are the skills that you currently have? I agree that you're a fresher, but freshers also do have skills. It could be soft skills, it could be hard skills, right? When I mean about soft skills, I'm talking about communication skills. Are you really good at connecting with people? Are you really good at writing a 2-page article? Are you really good at creating posters? Are you creatively inclined? These are all skills. Don't be humble here, right? Really think through what are your skills. Your skills could be, you might be a ninja at Excel, for example, right? These are all different skills. Think about what your skills are that you feel that you're good at, and then you enjoy doing as well, if I may say that. So again, don't be humble here. When you think about your skills, be honest. Leadership can be a skill. Have you always been the one to take initiative? Right. That can be a skill as well. Those are all different skills that you could possess. You need to really reflect what your skills are. The next question is, if you know what areas you are passionate about, really think through what are organizations that are working in those sectors, right? If you're passionate about wildlife, it could be, National Geographic, it could be WWF, the World Wildlife Federation, it could be the World Wildlife Institute. So there are different organizations. Or you could be really passionate about children's education, right? Teach for India is an organization that works. There are multiple organizations. Spend some time, make a laundry list of organizations. The more, the better, right? It doesn't, as long as they are linked to your passion areas and you feel that, hey, this is a sector that I might want to work, make a list of those organizations. Then the next thing that I would suggest doing as part of the self-reflection exercise is do a bit of research in terms of what are typical roles and skills required for freshers in these organizations, right? Most of these organizations keep hiring freshers. If you don't have the information on their website, go on LinkedIn, right? You know which organization, you made a laundry list of organizations, you can find who are the youngest resource in those organizations. What are they doing, right? So you get a sense. Then spend some time doing research in terms of looking at similar job descriptions. Most job descriptions within a sector, within a specific role, will have the similar skills that companies or organizations are looking for, right? Take a note of that. Then the next exercise is looking at the skills that you have, that you've identified in the second part, in the step 2, and looking at what are skills that companies are looking for, right? Is there a mismatch? Are you missing out on something? If you're missing out, then how can you get that skill, right? Certain skills might be hard or technical skills. Can you get that by doing an online course or a certificate program, right? Which end of the day makes you more attractive to as a candidate to a recruiter, right? And the next slide, I'll talk about how to do this exercise, but if you are able to do this exercise, I would say, honestly, you're 75% in the process of finding a job. It's that ridiculous. If you have this clear, right, you are 75% there. The next 25% is just going out and finding that job. Now, when you do this self-reflection, one of the things that is going to come is you might have multiple passion areas, right? It's perfectly fine. You might have different set of skills. Now, what you need to do is scenario planning. So let me give you an example, right? Here are 3 different scenarios. Let's consider that it's the same person. They are passionate about 3 very, very different areas. They're passionate about impact investing. They're passionate about early childhood development. They are passionate about wildlife and outdoors. 3 very, very unique sectors or areas. And they have their own reasons. They are passionate about impact investing because this person really likes numbers, is analytically good, is good at Excel, and maybe wants to do a CFA down the line, right? Or this person has great rapport with people, is a multitasker, wants to be on the ground. The other reason from the wildlife point of view is this person likes data, again, likes to be on the ground, really want to see the impact, right? And then the next step is you look at all the different organizations. I've just given us a few subset of organizations in these segments. So what I've started doing is looking at a specific passion area. Why am I really interested in it? What are skills that I possess? What are organizations that are working in that sector? And then start looking at the various different types of roles at a fresher level, right? And I've taken these from real life cases, right? And in impact investing, an analyst role, you typically need to be good at data analysis. You should have financial modeling skills. You should be good with communication. If you're looking at the program side in early childhood development, you need to have good written and communication skills. You typically need to know more than one language. Any additional regional language, Hindi is always a plus. Most of them tend to look at you having some kind of experience with not-for-profits, or let's look at the wildlife and outdoor side, right? They tend to look at hiring people who've done similar studies in social, life sciences, or a degree in wildlife and ecology, etc. This job description that I was looking at for a conservation assistant very specifically said must have a 2- and 4-wheeler driving license, right? Then you go back and with each scenario look at what skills that I am missing out on, right? And where can I get that? I want to upgrade my financial modeling skills for impact investing. There are enough and more courses out there. Who do one? That will only help you in. I don't have any experience in the not-for-profit side. Can I do an internship? Maybe for 3 months, but get some kind of an exposure, right? End of the day makes you more attractive to that specific role. Again, I don't have a 4-wheeler driving license. Can I go get that, right? Or I've not done a course in wildlife science. Can I do that online? So that's what I mean by sort of setting your objectives. As I said, you can do multiple scenarios, right? You can do 5, 6, 7 scenarios. Somewhere I would say a good number is between 3 to 5, where you say, hey, these are 3 areas that I'm really interested in starting my career. This is where I want to get an opportunity to work. All right. So I hope this is clear so far. It's a very, very simple exercise, but it takes time. You need to be honest with yourself. If you're able to do this, I am guaranteeing that you're already taken that right step forward for your first job or the right job. Once you've done the self-reflection exercise, the next most important thing, right, is getting your resume and cover letter. Unfortunately, we live in a world where most companies This is a prerequisite. You need to have a good resume and a cover letter. This is what you're judged on. This is what you're rejected on as well. This is where you can differentiate yourself. Just to give you some context, right? Most job application in India, and it's not just social sector, it is across every sector. I would say every job gets anywhere between 150 to 200 applications, which is a ridiculously high number for anybody who is trying to scan through that, right? So how do you now make yourself stand out? And we'll talk about that separately, but here I'm concentrating specifically, and this is important, to have a good resume and a cover letter. Now, what does a good resume look like? And we see a lot of resumes, right? I've seen a lot of resumes over the course of the last 16 years. Here's my secret formula or structure or framework for a good resume. You're a fresher, your resume shouldn't be more than one page. Everybody knows that you don't have a lot of experience, right? You're a fresher. A one-page, clean, neat resume is what you need to have. Start with your name, your personal details. Personal details can be address, email address, mobile phone, LinkedIn profile. Have an objective. Customize it for every application. Let's say you're applying for an impact investing analyst role. That's literally the first thing somebody reads after they open. Nobody really is reading what is your address or email address. It's your name, and then the first thing that they usually read is the object, right? Customize it for each. Let's say if you're interested, as I said, in impact investing, make a statement. Say you want to be in impact investing because of this, or you love numbers and you want to be in an organization that you are playing with numbers and creating impact. Right? Go crazy there, I would say. Then is your educational qualification. You're a fresher. That's what is your most recent thing that you can do. Keep it simple. College, course, year of graduation. If there is relevant coursework, right? So for him, let's say you are applying for that conservation role at that wildlife organization. You have studied ecological studies and you've specifically done electives around conservation, right? Showcase that. Write that in your resume, right? It's only making you, the word I would use is most sexier as a candidate for the recruiter, right? You stand out. That's what you want to do. If there's any internship, volunteering experience with which organization, talk about what you did. I see a lot of resumes where they say, volunteer at so-and-so, so-and-so time to so-and-so. Great, but what did you do? Write 2 lines about it. If you're able to achieve something, right? Let's say you did a tree plantation drive. Write about that. Say that you planted 50 trees in 2 weeks. That's an achievement, right? Write that. Then talk about skills that you have. And here the important thing is trying to write about skills that are linked to the job description. And we'll talk very specifically about job description and why it's important in your job search. And then add something interesting and funny about yourself. I always read the last part where somebody is talking about interest and passion. And a lot of people just write reading, traveling, and when I interview them and ask them where they last traveled, it's usually a blank, right? Be honest, right? Write something funny or something really interesting that stands out about you, right? These are opportunities where you can showcase yourself and make yourself stand out. So this is, for me, the key things that a good resume should have. Again, moving on. And now comes to a cover letter. So I'll be honest with everybody, I'm not a fan of cover letters. I think cover letters are regressive. I don't think people should be judged on cover letters. But unfortunately, not only in the social impact sector, across the world, people still ask for cover letters. So you can't help it, right? What does a good cover letter look like? I would say start with introducing yourself. I am so-and-so, I recently graduated from XYZ college, or I am so-and-so and I currently work in this organization. The next thing you should talk about is, why are you applying for that role? Right? Let's say it's the early childhood. Say you've been passionate about early childhood. If there is a personal connect, mention that. There's nothing that gets recruiters excited when you talk about why. Why would you want to do that role, right? Give a strong case. In most cases, I see whys as, I want this job. Yeah, so does 200 other people, right? Why should you be the one, right? Then comes, like, as I said earlier, right? What are skills that you have for that role? Talk about that. It could be even just studies, right? Let's say you're applying for a marketing role. Again, if you have done a project around marketing during your time in college, or you would have been part of an event and you were part of the marketing team, mention that, right? You enjoyed doing that. That's a skill that you had sort of enjoyed, that you want to build on. Mention that. Here's where my suggestion is when it comes to cover letter. Cover letter is a great opportunity to share additional things. A resume, generally you need to stick to that format. You have only a page that you can showcase yourself. A cover letter is where you can do a lot more, right? Let's say you're applying for a communication role. I would say cover letter is a great place to say, hey, these are articles that I have written, right? And if it's available online, share it. Or if you want to send it as an attachment, give that, right? Or let's say you are a photograph. Your skill is as a photographer and you're applying for, again, a communication role where photography is an important skill to have. Share your portfolio, right? So you should use your cover letter to really showcase yourself. And then finally end with a call to action. Give it to the reader saying, hey, right, this is me. I'm really interested in this role. These are skills that I have. And look, I also have done this. Now, talk to me, right? You want to convert that into an interview. Give a call to action. A lot of people miss out on it and just go, thank you. Call to action, right? That for me is a very, very powerful way to end a cover letter. So that's what a good resume should have and a good cover letter should have. Now, there's one more additional thing that's important in this age. Get your LinkedIn profile in place. Literally every recruiter goes and checks your profile on LinkedIn. Now, you don't need to have a lot of information. You are a fresher, but have a well-done professional LinkedIn profile. If you don't know how to do that, there is enough and more content available on YouTube. Go look for how to create a LinkedIn profile for freshers. You will get that information. It is very, very important in this day and age. Okay, so that's step 2. The third is the actual search, right? So you've figured out what are the 3 or 5 scenarios of areas, roles that you want to work. You've made your cover letter and your resume. Now is really going out there and looking for job opportunities, right? Now, where do you find these job opportunities? As one of the advice that I will give to everybody is create a separate email address for your job search. The list of companies that you made, almost all companies or organizations have newsletters. Subscribe to that. Send them to this new email address so it doesn't fill up your personal inbox, right? The reason you should subscribe to these newsletters is most organizations, when they are hiring, that's the way they start communicating that. Again, I come back to LinkedIn. It's an amazingly great tool for looking for jobs. There's something known as job alerts. If you haven't figured it out, go figure it out. You can type in wildlife jobs India, that becomes a job alert. You get weekly alerts for any jobs that come with those keywords, right? So you know what your passion areas are. You figured out your keywords, right? Use that in LinkedIn. Let LinkedIn do its work. Send you jobs on a weekly basis. There's a ton of online information available. You don't need to keep going to each company's website. Development Creative is this massive online Google group that has people from the development sector in India subscribe to it. There's Social Enterprise Jobs that keeps posting jobs about social enterprises. Arthan, which is a recruitment firm specifically targeting the third sector, they have a Telegram group that they keep sharing. There are multiple resources like these. Next Billion, sorry about the spelling mistake, Andy, Jin, all of these keep posting jobs. DevNet Jobs, I think, is an excellent resource for NGO-related jobs. And this is just a sample, right? There are enough and more of these kind of information when you're looking for those jobs. You need to spend time, shortlist job opportunities that you see, and then do that exercise that we spoke about, right? Look at what the skill is. And that comes to the next step, right? Sorry, before we go into that, this is the most important thing, is you need to network. From my experience, most companies, most organizations, and this is not just the social impact space, most companies do not post openings that they have. You need to reach out to somebody in an organization and just ask them, is there any openings? You will find there are openings that are not posted anywhere online. I have no reason why, but this is a fact. Now that leads to the question of how do you network online? If you know the organization that you want to work with, find a connection. It could be through somebody you know, or it could be you just reach out to them on LinkedIn. Don't be shy. Right? But when you reach out to them, be specific about your ask. This increases the chance of someone responding. If I showed you my LinkedIn inbox, I can show you the number of times people have written hello, and that's it. I don't know if they're waiting for me to respond back with hello, but I'm not. Right? Everybody's time is valuable. Be as direct as possible. So here's, and then what is the objective of networking online, right? The way I think about it is you want an introduction or you want to have a call with them if they're the right person. Be very specific, right? I'm so-and-so. I'm looking for an opportunity in XYZ organization or this space. I think what you're doing is something I would want to do. Can I have a call with you? You will be surprised if you are this direct, specific with your ask, the number of times people will respond saying, hey, we can talk. Right? Everybody wants to help, but you need to be clear about what you're asking for. And the same goes if somebody responds and says, hey, we can get on a call, be very specific and to the point. It's not a chit-chat conversation. It's not a gossip conversation. Again, everybody's time is crucial, right? If it's a 30-minute call, be very clear. Have 5 points that you want to discuss. Share it with that person beforehand so that they can prepare themselves. Those for me are signs that you are going one level extra, that for me shows a level of professionalism that is usually not seen in young professionals or graduates. That's how you again differentiate yourself. So I hope I'm clear in terms of how you can network online. LinkedIn again is a fantastic resource, which goes back to my earlier point of get your LinkedIn profile in place. Now, you've got your resume, you've got your cover letter, you know which organization you want to apply. Now, how do you apply? The way I see it is there are two sets of companies out there you could potentially apply. One are large companies. Let's say you want to apply for a EY, a Dalberg, a BCG, or organizations that hire, in big numbers. Then there are smaller organizations which are typically in the social impact space, which is where you just send your resume and cover letter to a specific email address. Now, when you're applying in an online platform or a software that compiles applications, the most important thing is keywords, right? You get them in the job description. Add them to your cover letter and resume. It makes a big, big difference. It just sends your resume up when the recruiter is searching through those resumes. When we talk about keywords, when we talk more in detail about how to read a job description. Whereas when you're applying to smaller companies that you're writing to somebody specific, go online, find out who the recruiter is. See if you can dig a little bit more about that person. Everybody has an online presence. Can you find something interesting about them? I once had a candidate who wrote to me, and I'll be honest, I'm a big time foodie, who at the end of the email said, hey, I want to talk to you about so-and-so dish and your thoughts about this, right? Now, what that candidate did is just first, everything else was standard, just that one line suddenly personalized caught my eye, right? And I'm like, hey, I want to talk to this candidate, right? Small things like that can make a big difference. We've already spoken about how to, write a good cover letter, reaching out to someone in the organization. If you can get an introduction to the recruiter, makes it. Try and make it personal when you apply for smaller roles. Which then comes to the key question of how to read a job description, right? I'm hoping that everybody who's listening has seen a job description. Job description can be different. I'm going to specifically talk about what is typically in a job description and how to read it, right? For me, a job description says a lot about an organization. Job descriptions that are 4 lines, clearly the recruiter is not interested, clearly shows values of the organization, right? It says so much about an organization when you go through a job description. Start with the title, right? Is it really a fresher job or a junior level job? Does it match with the role and responsibility? For example, if I saw a job title said manager social media, let's say, right? And they're looking for somebody with 0 to 2 years work experience and expect you to do a manager's role. For me, that's an orange flag. The organization doesn't really know who they are hiring or what they expect from a candidate. Avoid those kind of roles is my suggestion. So clearly look at what the title is. Is it really a fresher or a junior role? Right. Look at what the role and responsibility is. Does it really reflect the title? Then look at the required qualifications. Now, is it clear? In most cases, I think this is where companies be unrealistic, right? They will talk about, hey, you need to be a super person. You need to be doing multiple things at the same time. You need to be doing this, or your qualification need to be A, B, C, D, E. Honestly, you will rarely find candidates who will meet all the qualifications, right? Again, that shows for me a lack of understanding from the organization point of view about what they are looking for. Then comes the job responsibilities, right? This is where you find keywords. Look at what they're talking about in terms of what you would be doing. Does that really excite you? Is something that you need to consider. Then the next thing to read about is the organization description. What does the organization do, right? Is it clearly articulated in the job description? If it is not, can you go do more research online about the organization? And then finally, salary and benefits. Companies that talk openly, transparently about salary and benefits, for me, gets a thumbs up, right? That shows again the value of the organization. That talks about how transparent they are. Those are the kind of organizations that I want to work with, right? Those are organizations that sort of aligns my value systems as well. And application instructions. The amount of times that I've given application instructions and people not following it and just sending me just a resume and no cover letter, for example, for me that's a reject. That means you have not read the job description, you have not read about how to apply for that role, right? Most job descriptions very clearly say this is how you need to apply. This is what you need to submit. Follow it to the T. Don't miss out on a role because you didn't read the instructions properly. How to stand out. And now I'll go a little bit faster. Starting with do your homework. Any additional information beyond the JD that you can use will only help you. Research, research, research. Second, be professional. Language, the way you write things matters. For me, it's a key skill that will differentiate a job application, given that we do that online. How you construct your sentences, how your resume looks, your cover letter, make it as professional as possible. Try and differentiate yourself. Have you thought about videos as something that you can share? We talk about why you want to apply. Make a video, make it 30 seconds long. I am telling you, most recruiters will click on it. You will stand out. I'm surprised that not more people are using it as a tool. Proofread, proofread, proofread. Grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, these are all big no's. Get a third person to see it if you have seen the document too many times. I go back to having a strong online presence, LinkedIn, be on LinkedIn. And finally, it helps to be quirky or funny in your application. I'm telling you, it will help you stand out. If you don't know how to do it, avoid it. If you can do it, do it. This for me are some very practical ways that you can stand out. So I'm going to summarize quickly. Step one, as I said, be clear on your objectives for your job search. Step two, have a clear and concise resume and cover letter. Step three, create your job search plan. You made the list of companies, you started looking at roles, you started applying, subscribe to different newsletters, job alerts, apply to 2-3 roles every day. Start networking. Read the job description, read the job description, read the job description again till you understand it. If you don't understand, see if you can get answers. Do your research. Be smart with when and how you apply. Step by standout. I've already spoken about it. Repeat this process. So the way I put it across is job search is like fishing. You have to put your net out there, do it multiple times till you catch. Or it's like online dating. Get over the rejection quickly, move on to the next opportunity. It's a competitive process. Everyone is going through what you are going through. Don't get worked out. Tomorrow is a new day. All right? Quickly to summarize, if you haven't subscribed to the Path Builder Fresher Job Digest, we share on a weekly basis job opportunities in the social impact sector for candidates where the candidate requirement is 0 to 3 years. We share volunteering opportunities, full-time opportunities, and fellowships. If you have already subscribed, share it with your friends and colleagues. Pay it forward, right? And what's coming up for Path Builder next? We've been launching our podcast series called Path Breaking, as I spoke about. We'll have new content coming up soon. We are having our third webinar on 4th May. We will share a registration link shortly. And it's about, okay, this webinar talks about how to get to the interview. We are going to talk about how to crack the interview. That's the make and break, right? Once you get that opening in the door, how do you break that? Great. And I will end that and take any questions that people might have. Please share it in the chat window. Somebody has messaged saying, can I take some of your time after the session? I would suggest this email on the Path Builder email address that you've been receiving emails, and we can set up a time to potentially talk. I'm going to pick up some questions that had come in earlier. So one question was, what are sources to prepare for social impact consulting case interviews? We can pick that up in the next webinar, but the short answer is look at BCG, look at McKinsey. Most of the case interviews are similar in nature. The only difference is that the scenarios that they give you is social sector related. How do I transition my career from engineering to development sector? I would say I'm an engineer. I got into the development sector. You need to go do that exercise that I spoke about, right? What are your passion areas? If you're an engineer, you still have some skills that you've learned. Where can you use it? Identify those early roles within the passion areas. Apply. That's, for me, how you can potentially break through. Let me look at other questions that have come in. What are skill sets needed in program associate? We've covered that in our earlier webinar, where we specifically talk about NGOs, program associate roles. In short, I would say good written and communication skills, knowledge about local language, your ability to coordinate, multitask, and your ability to be able to build rapport with people on the ground. Those for me are the key things that I would look at a program associate level. Yeah, I think that's all the questions that we have. I know we have almost, we still have about 10 minutes. So if anybody has any more questions, I'm happy to answer them. Please just feel free to type it in the chat window. So Monica's asked which postgraduate degree would be helpful for social impact sector, MBA or MPP? I would say both are useful. I am an MBA graduate. I got into the social sector. I worked at the social enterprise. Did an MBA because I was more focused on building a career in the business side or the social enterprise side, which is why I did an MBA. So it goes back to the question, Monica, what is that you want to do? What are your passion areas? If you're specifically interested in advocacy work, policy work, an MPP is a better degree. Whereas if you're interested in more on the implementation side, on working with social enterprises, then an MBA would be better. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, next question. Would a recommendation be needed to get a job for freshers? If so, how to go about it? I would say yes. Anybody I've hired in the past, I've done two levels of recommendation. One is I ask the candidates to provide recommendation. So it could be, if you're a fresher, it could be your professor. It could be even your friend who can sort of vouch for you. It could be you've done some kind of engagement in college. You might have done internship. Somebody who's senior, who's professional, who can recommend you. fits the bill. I also do discrete reference checks because for me that's the way to go when you look at recommendations. So yes, short answer is recommendation. It takes you a long way. The way to think about recommendation as a fresher is if there is one or two professors who you think you have one good rapport with, or two has taught a course that is linked to the job opportunity, they can make a recommendation that will help. Great. I think we still have a few more minutes, and I hope this webinar was useful. If you don't get any more questions in the next minute or so, I'm happy to wind up this webinar. We will also be sharing the recording of this webinar. Feel free to share it with friends, colleagues who might find it useful, as they think about looking or going about searching for a job in the social impact sector. Great. Looks like we don't have any additional questions. I thank everyone who joined, listened in. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day and rest of the week ahead. God bless.